Okay, so in this recording, what I'm going to be doing is installing Drupal 8 and then showing how to configure the CDN module and then how to basically sort of show you the difference in the speed and the sort of ratings you can get from the web speed sites with the once you added like a CDN to it. Okay, so first I'm going to just get the Drupal installed. Let's just choose a language, and then we're just going to use the demo, just for something to see. Alright, so now it's just going to install some modules and sort of all the things necessary just to get this demo site up and running. Okay, so that's almost finished, shouldn't be too much longer. Alright, so now we just have to give the site an email address. And actually this email address doesn't actually work. Probably guess what that password is. Alright, so it's just finishing. So normally it wouldn't take this long if you just do a standard install, but obviously because I chose the demo site, it's going to add a few extra things on top of what you normally get. Right, so here's the site. And so yeah, so that's just basically a demo site. So it's easier doing this rather than trying to sort of randomly add some information to it. And so now I'm just going to sort of first of all just get some extra modules. Right, yeah, so you just have to enable this. So you can it just makes installing modules easier, but also when you enable it, it will constantly keep nagging you about that you need to update. So that's why, admittedly, I just usually disable it. Right, so you just install the module, and so the modules I'm going to use, I'm just going to get it from my website. Sorry, the list of what I'm going to use, I should say. And so if you just go to applications used, and then okay, I just had to flush the cache. But anyway, if you come here, it'll be, once I've done this video, you'll be able to find it. Right, so these are the modules that I'm going to be installing. Actually, I'm just being a bit silly. Okay, let me go. Alright, so first is the advanced CSS/JS aggregation. What this does is it reduces the amount of requests needed to load your site. And so basically it helps to, it does help to speed up, basically when someone's on a slow link, this module can help by making it so that they don't need to make as many requests. Alright, so okay, so that's installed. So we go for the next one. So this is the CDN module. What this does is this stores your how can you say, the static files from your website onto a CDN, external CDN, which helps to speed things up by having them stored on servers which are nearer where the person is actually accessing your website from. So what that does, it means that big things like images and that, they can install quicker because they don't have to come from your server, and also helps to reduce the load on your server as well. And so then this next one, what it does, it just, I find it doesn't really make that much difference, but it does reduce the size of the HTML on your web pages just a little bit. But I suppose anything can help, because I think I did notice a microscopic increase in speed with it enabled. So I suppose it just can't, doesn't do any harm. And the last one is just, for a reason I chose this one, so we're just installing it. Alright, so what I'm just going to do now is, right, so what I'm going to do is just going to try and disable the caching. But one thing I'll notice, so what that should do is that should slow it down as much as I can. But it seems like the site's quite fast anyway. So what I'm going to do now is give it a quick test on sort of GT metrics. See what kind of score it gets now. Right, okay. Yeah, see, that's pretty bad now. See, 122 requests, and it took 5 seconds to fully load. Page speed score is F, 35%, which is quite horrible. Right, so you can see the things. So the images are bad, and then we've got, yeah, so it looks like the images is our main problem. So if we first have to try to sort of deal with that, let me just, so what we want, right, so each of these is it's a recipe and article. So what we need to do, it's mostly article and recipe, so you need to check the page to see what kind of images are being used. Right, so it's the image, obviously it doesn't like. Right, so what we need is actually manually display. So that determines the type of image that we get. Alright, so what we're going to do now is, so in configuration, what we're going to do is turn on the modules that we installed first. Right, so you turn on the CDN as well, and so just install them. Right, so now if we go back to configuration and then into performance, and so now we're ready to turn on as much as we can. So we save that, and then right, and so now we can choose the advanced aggregate, and right, so we're going to turn on to use combined by media queries. So we don't need these options. So then if we go to so then we go to bundler, and it should just leave it as 4, and so you just remove the licensing and just save that. Go to JavaScript and remove put on JS min and just remove the licensing again. Right, so just add a defer and so okay, and alright, so that should be it for the aggregation and caching. So now we have to set up the CDN. So we go into performance. Well, it's in development. I don't know. Okay, let me just. But you can tell I haven't done a test run on this, so I'm basically just winging it because I'm trying to get it done tonight. Well, actually, what you can do is, if you can't find the configuration of the module, then the easiest way is just to find it. Yeah, so you just click on that little arrow and then just click on configure, and it'll take you to wherever it is. So at the moment it's off because now we have to set up a mapping, and basically to do that I have to okay, so here I'm back again. So I just had to cut it because I just had to do some configuration changes. But basically with this Drupal setup, it looks like it's going to be difficult to actually get it to the images to scale, because it does take a bit of work to get that sort of thing sorted out. So I'm just going to go straight to the CDN. So basically what I do is, so with this in key CDN, I'm just going to create a zone. And so this gets added to the, yeah, this is just gets added to the name of the sort of URL that's used. You can actually set up zone aliases, but that's only when you want to make it look as if it's coming from your domain. But if you don't really care, because people will know it's a CDN anyway. So the fact it's key CDN, it's I don't see how that will make much of a difference. So basically, the original URL is basically where you want the actual files. It's going to be pulling the files from, right? So I set it to HTTPS so that it gets to use the HTTP2. And so basically most of these other settings, you just leave them on default. And there's basically only one thing that you want to change. I'll explain why that needs changing sort of later. Right, so everything you can just leave as a default. And so now the one thing that I'm just going to be changing is this pull key, and I'll explain later what that the reason for having this. Actually, okay, doing it from the wrong place. Right. So that can just be any sort of letters, sort of any letters or numbers. It's just easier just to stick to letters. So yeah. So apart from that, the other thing I'll do is I'd enable the robots text as well. This just stops crawlers from indexing the actual data which is on the CDN. And so basically, yeah, you can leave everything else. So everything you just leave as a default. Well, yeah, let's just leave it for now, just to save time. And leave the SSL as shared as well. And so basically that's it. So if you save that, and so it just takes a short amount of time for the CDN to get updated. And so what we can do in the meantime is go back into the actual CDN module. So we go into configuration and then into the CDN integration. And so basically the mapping, you just save it to all files. Yeah, so if you save that. Alright, sorry, yeah, you got to put the, now because I've used the Drupal 7 version, so I'm just not quite used to this newer one. Oh no, sorry, I'm doing this wrong. So basically, in the zone, what you put in is this zone URL here. And so basically right, so what we'll do, so all files will then be served from the CDN. And so if you save that, and then yeah, and I think that's actually it, because in this Drupal 7 one, you had 3 sections. Yeah, so whether it's HTTP or HTTPS, it will be it'll come from this sort of that URL. And so what we do now is you have to wait for it to actually be enabled. So as long as it's yellow, it means that they're still setting it up on the servers around the world. So in the meantime, what I'm going to do is just go into the configuration and then go to the performance, and oh yeah, sure, remember we've already turned this on, haven't we? Yeah. I suppose you can turn that on, because usually any option which is dangerous, it will actually tell you. So normally, as long as it doesn't say that it's a dangerous option, then right. Okay, and so that's about it. So with Drupal 8, you don't have as many sort of configuration options that you can change. So the main thing we just have to do is actually the other important thing to do is just load it a few times so that the cache, so that the cache gets filled up. So it's loading quick now. So once it's loading quick, then that's when it's ready to give it another test on the GT metrics. Obviously, with GT metrics, it's going to complain about the images not being scaled. So just gotta wait for this. Okay, so finally the zone has turned green, so that means it's active. So if we go back to so we go back to the CDN. So just go to configuration and then CDN integration, and then with the status, then we just turn it on basically. Right, and okay, so now it's best if we go to performance and then just clear the caches. Right, so that's cleared. So now if we go to right, so if we go to network, and if we reload it, right, so we can see that the right, and so you can see the files are being served from the CDN, and see, because when you look, you can see, alright, there's a few fonts there, but the CSS files are actually coming from the KX CDN. Yeah, it's just easiest to see when but it's still a few files, because you can see the number of requests. It's down to 52 requests now. So it's made a little bit of difference. And so what we do is just go to just compare it. So just use the HTTPS just to see if the HTTP2 can make a bit of difference as well. So let's try again without the HTTP2. Oh, sorry, well, I mean HTTPS, which of course would have had the HTTP2, and just see if the options we've chosen have made any difference. Well, it's still F for images. So yeah, it looks like page speed. Sorry, so page speed, they really hate those images. So the fact that when you have images which are unscaled, then page speed is not happy at all. It'll always give you a bad rating. But Y-Slow, so we jumped from 79 to 95 just by turning on the CDN, which Y-Slow, I've noticed, really likes CDNs. So if you ever want a good Y-Slow score, just make sure you got a CDN running, because it doesn't seem to care so much about the images. But it's interesting that the load times actually increase, which is strange. But as you can see, the total page size is smaller, and of course the big win, of course, is the request. So if someone's on a little sort of mobile and they're accessing your page, then this is definitely going to be a big win for them, because there's so many less requests that need to actually come through. Oh, so basically that so I'm just going to show you just quickly how you can get a little bit of a speed boost on your site just by enabling the CDN module and the advanced aggregate module in Drupal 8. Oh, actually, I just remembered there's something I completely forgot, which is important as well. And basically, what it is now that you have the site on the CDN, if someone tries to access your main website through the actual CDN URL, they'll actually get the main information from it. And the reason why I have to show you this is because remember when we enter that key, this next part is actually to do with what you can do with that key. And so just to save having to sort of do it through the web browser, what I'll do is just gonna do it through the command line instead. Right, so when you go back to the page, you notice this last part down the bottom here. And so what happens is if you do a curl, because actually I should have edited that, but if you use curl to actually get the sort of website, what will happen is it will, right, so if you just do a normal curl like this to sort of on the site, and you run that, then what it'll do is you get all of the HTML. But here's the thing is that if you then do it from the CDN URL, right? Yeah. See, so basically you get the you get the full HTML when you try to access the actual URL from the CDN. And basically the way to stop that from happening is that when the CDN accesses the site, what you basically have to do is that you have to set the htaccess up so that it actually blocks any requests which for the HTML that comes from the CDN. And so the way that you do that is you have to edit the htaccess file. I'm using the command line here, but you can do it with like the FTP sort of client as well. And basically what you do is you go down and find the first place where it says mod rewrite. Yeah, so here where it says mod rewrite and rewrite engine on. And so before anything, because you want it to be the first thing that it does. So basically where it says rewrite engine on, if you then, where I've got the text, yeah, so basically you put this goes just underneath the rewrite engine on. And so what that does is that if the if you try to access the HTML or PHP and it has this key, which basically this is what the CDN is going to send, then it actually blocks it. So right, so if you save that, and so now if I try to, so you saw before when I tried to access the site with the pull with just the question marks in it. So yeah, no, yeah, sorry, that one. Let me just clear it off. Right, so this header, I put the pull header is just question marks. And so if I try to access the site with that, then it gives me the HTML. So that's anyone that's not coming through the CDN. But the CDN is going to now add the header. So basically what I do is so now this is like I'm the CDN accessing it. So this is like, so this is like the CDN is going to be using this expull sort of header value. And so if I try to access it with this header value, then it gives me the access denied. And that's exactly what you want. So that means that you can't access the HTML through the CDN. But of course now if we try to access the CDN, yeah, so just do a normal access, but actually we'll do this in the browser because it's easier to see. So right, so if I try and access, so this is through the CDN, this is just a normal access, but of course I don't need the curl at the beginning. Oh yeah, it's already updated, hasn't it? Yeah, it's too late. So we can see that. So if the way we can see if this is really working is if we edit the htaccess file, just so we know it isn't a fluke. So if I get rid of the E at the beginning, Just put the E back in so I don't forget it, but I don't save the file. And if I reload, so what I'll do is if I just purge that. No, still giving me. Oh, actually, I think I'm being silly. Yeah. No, I'm actually being silly because what I did is it's HTTPS. Right. So if I use this header and so it gives me the HTML, so I should still. Right, so okay, so yeah, so now that allows me to get the HTML through the CDN, which is not what you want, because now Google and other bots can crawl the CDN and you end up with that duplicate information. So basically that's why you have to put this into the yeah, so at the moment, see, we're getting when we use that header, we're still getting the information. So now if I edit the htaccess again, because I'm just doing this just to show you that it really does work, and that it isn't just because of some other error that is causing that 403. Right, so now that it's back, if I try to curl with that header, the main site, I get access to, or I don't have permission, which is what you want. And so then now if I do a reload of this, yeah, it still lets me get it. So let me just purge the zone. So it's just purging. Alright, so it's purged. So now let's try it again. And we get access denied. So that's it. So basically now, with that last step, your site is safe from any duplicate information being on the CDN. So of course the only thing that's going to be duplicate is the actual images, but search engines don't care about that. It's just the actual text and information, like articles and whatever. Alright, so I just forgot that I had to put that part at the end, but basically that's just the extra bit at the bottom is just related to avoiding the duplicate content. Okay, thanks for watching. See you.